Be honest, you sleep 7, maybe 8 hours, and still drag yourself out of bed feeling wrecked. Coffee barely helps. By afternoon, your brain feels foggy. By evening, you're exhausted. You're not lazy, and it's probably not age. But here's the strange part. You probably think this is a sleep problem. What if it isn't? What if the real cause is something most people never notice happening to them? There's a phenomenon called attention residue, and once you understand it, you'll never think about tiredness the same way again. Research from Gloria Mark found that many knowledge workers switch activities every few minutes throughout the day. Your brain was never designed for that. Modern neuroscience discovered it in a lab. Stoic philosophers, Buddhist monks, and ancient Indian sages described it, without the lab thousands of years earlier. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why sleeping more isn't always the answer, and what actually restores your energy. Leave 50 apps running in your phone's background and watch the battery drain. Your brain works in a surprisingly similar way. Most people think fatigue comes from hard work. Research suggests something different. Mental fatigue often comes from constant cognitive switching. Every notification, every unfinished task, every half-read email. Your brain keeps a tiny thread of attention attached to each one. Psychologist Sophie Leroy called this attention residue. Your mind never fully leaves one task before being pulled into the next. Research from Gloria Mark shows that constant switching increases mental workload, stress, and cognitive fatigue. The average person switches context hundreds of times a day. And here's the shocking part. Research suggests that after an interruption, it can take more than 20 minutes to fully regain deep focus. Think about that. A distraction lasting only a few seconds can steal more than 20 minutes of attention. Your brain pays interest on every switch, in the form of exhaustion. Most people blame themselves. I'm lazy. I have no motivation. I need more discipline. But what if you're simply operating inside an environment human brains were never designed for? For most of history, people alternated between focused effort and genuine recovery. Today, before breakfast, many people have already consumed emails, messages, news, social media, and AI-generated content. Your brain isn't waking up gradually, it's being ambushed. The problem isn't effort, it's overload. Think about how many times your phone buzzed today. Even when you ignored it, your brain didn't. Research shows that merely expecting a notification increases mental tension. Some people even experience phantom vibrations. Their phone didn't buzz. Their nervous system expected it to. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, a constant state of waiting, scanning, and checking. And it's exhausting. But it still doesn't explain why so many people feel exhausted and overstimulated at the same time. For that, we need to talk about dopamine. Most people think dopamine creates pleasure, but neuroscientist Kent Berridge helps show that dopamine is more closely linked to wanting than liking. In other words, dopamine creates pursuit. It drives you to seek, refresh, check, scroll. Your brain evolved to pursue meaningful rewards, not endless micro-rewards. Eventually, something strange happens. The more stimulation you consume, the less stimulated you feel. Conversations feel flatter. Silence becomes uncomfortable. Ordinary life loses its emotional color. Fatigue is no longer just physical, it becomes emotional. Sleep and recovery are not the same thing. Sleep is biological. Recovery is neurological. You can sleep 8 hours and still fail to recover, especially when your brain remains overstimulated. Sleep researcher Matthew Walker has highlighted how evening light exposure can suppress melatonin and reduce sleep quality. But the deeper issue is mental carryover. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack all day. Sleep helps you recover. But if you wake up and immediately check notifications, news, and messages, the backpack goes right back on. Every morning, the technology is new. The problem isn't. The Stoics practice prososche, the discipline of attention, lose control of attention, and eventually you lose control of your experience. Buddhist teachings warn that a mind constantly chasing the next moment can never truly rest. Ancient Indian philosophy taught pratyahara, the deliberate withdrawal of the senses from stimulation so the mind can recover. Modern neuroscience, Roman Stoics, Buddhist monks, ancient Indian sages, different cultures, same conclusion. The human nervous system requires periods of undisturbed attention to remain healthy. The 5-step energy reset, 5 practices, each supported by modern research, each echoed by wisdom, traditions thousands of years old. Step 1. Create a screen-free morning. For the first 30 minutes after waking, don't touch your phone. The yogic tradition called this pratyahara. Give your brain a chance to wake up before the digital world enters. Step 2. Ask the right question. Stop asking, why am I so lazy? Start asking, am I tired or overstimulated? The Stoics called this prosos. The question you ask determines the solution you seek. Step 3. Close every open loop. In the 1920s, psychologist Bluma Sigernick discovered that unfinished tasks continue occupying mental space until consciously closed. Before bed, write down unfinished tasks and define the next action. Your brain can finally release the thread. The Stoics practiced a similar ritual through evening reflection. Different language, same principle. Step 4. Batch notifications. Every interruption carries a cognitive cost. Designate 2 or 3 windows for messages and notifications. Protect attention as a finite resource. Step 5. Schedule recovery, not just sleep. Recovery happens when a stimulation-saturated brain finally experiences relief. Walking, silence, reflection, mindfulness. 20 minutes a day is enough to begin noticing a difference. Energy returns where attention stabilizes. Most people spend years blaming themselves for a problem they never created. They assume they need more discipline, more willpower, when in reality, they've been living inside an environment designed to fragment their attention every waking hour. A neuroscience lab, a Roman philosopher by candlelight, a Buddhist teacher in meditation, an ancient Sanskrit text. None of them shared the same culture, yet they all discovered the same truth. Attention is energy, and whatever captures your attention ultimately captures your life. You came into this video wondering why you're always tired. You leave understanding that your brain may have been fighting a silent battle for attention all along. The problem was never that you were weak. The problem was that your attention became everybody else's product. Every generation has faced distractions, but ours is the first carrying thousands of interruptions in its pocket. The challenge of modern life is no longer managing time, it's managing attention. Because the most exhausted people today aren't always the ones doing the most work. Sometimes they're the ones carrying the most noise. And learning how to create silence again may be one of the most important skills of the 21st century. If you enjoy exploring where neuroscience, psychology, stoicism, Buddhism, and ancient Indian wisdom come together to explain the human mind, subscribe to Digital Mind Mentor. Because in a world competing for your attention every second, learning to master your mind may be the most valuable skill you'll ever develop. And remember, in the attention economy, the people who protect their minds don't just feel better, they live better.